Hello, welcome back. I am John Cole Morgan from iQuilt here in the UK, and I'm so pleased to bring you another contributor to the South African Voices in Cloth. I've got Margaret Rose with me. Margaret, welcome.
Thank you very much, John. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
It's wonderful to have you. Margaret, tell us a little bit about you and where you come from.
I'm Margaret Rose. The surname is courtesy of my husband, so I'm not the princess. I live in Brackenfell, which is a suburb of Cape Town in South Africa.
And how is
Uh,
Cape Town today?
it started a bit damp and overcast, but actually warming up again.
Wonderful. I must say, when I miss South Africa, I miss Cape Town as well. I think they go part and part. You can't have one without the other.
There's nothing like flying back into Cape Town airport and seeing that mountain and knowing you're coming home.
I bet. I've never been able to call Cape Town home. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. So, Margaret, how did you get into quilting?
Um, I've always enjoyed sewing, and many years ago, just before my husband and I got married, I actually did a patchwork duvet cover. And at the time, my mum bought a whole lot of fabric, and she did, the little hexies, made a whole lot of basically bedspreads and things like that with it, the old-fashioned way of calling things. And skip a few years ahead, you have children, you don't have always time for yourself. And then my husband and I spent 2 years in America.
Oh, right. Whereabouts?
We were in North Carolina.
Very nice.
Initially stayed in a little town called Mayodan, and then moved a little bit further south into a bigger city called Greensboro. While I was there, my husband had, due to work, had to go down to one of the bigger cities, Gastonia, and there was, the name of the shop has just escaped me now, but it was a big shop that had anything from upholstery fabric to wedding fabric to apparel, and they had a huge quilting section.
When were
And
you there?
this would be in 2002, 2003. And boy, oh boy, the material selection blew my mind. Anyway, we went back a couple of weeks later for me to go and buy some fabric. And again, my poor patient husband stood outside the shop with our little dog that we just got. And 45 minutes later, I walked out and I hadn't bought a thing yet because I couldn't make up my mind what I wanted. Anyway, went back in, bought some fabric, packed it up. And at the time, I'd bought some other fabric. And while we were in Greensboro, I made a quilt using the on paper, a pineapple design that,
So it was a foundation paper piecing one.
yeah. Because I had all the time in the world, I faffed around and I drew it all by hand myself and, stitched it and all the rest of it. Finished that off basically when we got back here, because that I then hand quilted myself, doing design on and what have you. Got back here, my other fabric lay in a trunk for a good few years. And then about 3-4 years ago, no, before COVID or after COVID, can't remember. I went out to the little town of Claremont because they had a quilting expo on. And that sort of kickstarted the love and the joy of actually the part I enjoy, which is the piecing, making a design, putting it together. And then Debbie Bierman has her online shop. So I started buying fabric from her, and she's an old, I know her from school days.
Wow.
So that was nice. And this group that we're on, the Quilting Memories group, is actually really lovely because there's some very inspiring people on there. And I just enjoy it. It's a a release from stress. Both my children landed up living in the UK, and my daughter decided to come home, so she only came home last month. But you know, after having children at home and a busy family life and going out, playing sport, doing things that we enjoy together, to have your family not around was very difficult. And I actually found getting into the quilting and enjoying that and having inspirational people around has actually helped me in a lot of ways.
I believe that.
And that's about me.
Because I think the mindful aspect of quilting, I think, is forgotten by a lot of people and it's not discussed enough. But I think
Yes,
that it is something that is very healing and very calming, and it does help
yeah,
tremendously.
very much so. And we
What?
make mistakes and we have to pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off and say, put
But
it
just like
down,
in life,
leave the table, go away.
I think you've got to have moments with any project you make that you look at it and go, I'm ignoring you for a few hours. I'll be back later. It's
Yes,
important.
yeah.
So
And
what drew you to the Voices in Cloth program?
your appeal.
That's kind.
Your appeal on the group. And I initially hadn't decided not to do anything because I was busy with something else. And I'm the type of person that, although I'm thinking of a new project and putting ideas together, I like finishing one before I start another. It's my nature. I like to finish a job and then start something new. And I'd finished off the one, and your appeal came on that group again. And I thought to myself, I've got a day or so. Let me knock up something. So my little one is, I don't know what we've called it, handmade or whatever. It's my take on looking at a rainbow. So it's mirror imaged. It's pieced, diagonally pieced, mirror imaged. You either look at it as a rainbow that gives you a lump of coal at one end or a pot of gold. And it's depending on how you look at life. And to me, a pot of gold doesn't necessarily mean rands and cents. It means, oh,
Well, the pot of gold means something different to every person. Some people
yes,
it is money, some people it's family, some people it's love, some people it's happiness, some people it's health. The pot of gold
yes,
is something different for everybody, as is the lump of coal. Some people find money a great burden, some people find family a great burden.
yeah,
But it is very, and I love the imagery that you've used, and I think it's very subjective as to what your coal and your gold is.
yeah. What the two opposite sides represent.
Mm,
So that I enjoyed doing it.
it's
You
very
know,
special.
it just came together nicely. And the little pot of gold on the end there is thanks to some of the other ladies on the group who had the kind of fabric I was looking for and quite happily stuck it in a bag and sent it to me.
Aunt Quilt is just amazing. I love that. But it's always the way that it doesn't matter what project you're doing, you're always missing one perfect fabric. You always are.
Yeah, yeah. I said that really touched me that somebody had just and I didn't need huge pieces. I needed like little bits, and it was just really touched my heart that somebody would open up and say, look, I've got these little bits, stick it in a
That's
bag, off
very
you
special.
go.
Do you think, because obviously having quilted in America for a little while, do you think there's a difference between South African quilters and quilters abroad?
I've never joined an actual quilting
Ah,
guild. I've always done this on my own.
okay.
Um, I'm not a person that can sit in a guild and natter to people all morning long over a cup of tea. It's
Nothing wrong with that.
I've been to a guild meeting, and I suppose if I sort of persevered, I could enjoy it, but I still am
See,
too
I run
physically
guilds.
active.
I run guilds and I love my ladies. I really do.
Yeah,
But I think anybody who's been to a guild with ladies of a certain age, I love my ladies, and I preface this with we have rules because we all get to a certain age, or hopefully I won't, where it's competitive moaning and it's competitive illnesses. And you've got 5 minutes to moan with pleasure. Moan away. But the competitive moaning, you've got 5 minutes. And if you go longer than the 5 minutes, you owe everybody a fiver, because this is not therapy. We are here to have fun. No
Yeah,
moan.
yeah. I think that's the side of things that I don't like. You know, life is very difficult for
For
all of
everyone.
us.
For everyone. In different
Um,
ways.
but don't carry your baggage to where you're having a meeting about something that is pure enjoyment for me, because I want to go there for the enjoyment.
It is.
I
And
want
that's the thing.
somebody
And
to
that's
say,
why it's a case of everybody does need a space to unload, and that's fine.
yes,
But there is a limit. And I think that's
yeah,
the case. And I
yeah,
did love the fact that when I put that rule in, one lady, I call her my little old duck, because she's a little short. And she's she's so sweet. And she turned around and says, I hope that applies to you too, which I love.
oh, gee, yeah.
Hmm.
Oh,
But it is,
okay,
but I think it's finding your tribe and finding your people, and whether that be one person or 50, it's down to each person. And some people
yes,
prefer to sew on their own.
yeah. Um, I, after many, many years of always having to put the sewing machine on the dining room table and pack up every night, um, when my father passed away, I did a minor alteration on the house, which landed up with me with my own sewing room now. So it's lovely that I can just put everything down, turn off the lights, close the door, and it's there. And I go in tomorrow and it's all ready and waiting. I can just carry on.
That is really
It's
good.
been a huge bonus.
It is. Having a spot where you can just go in and be creative and you don't have to pack, there's really special. Are you going to be going to the quilting festival in July?
Unfortunately, I have another sport that I participate in, and we have a bit of a clash.
That's all right.
So
What sport do you play?
I don't play a sport anymore. I have a Labrador, and I participate in retriever trials.
Oh, wow. How wonderful.
It's a lot of time and dedication to train the dog and to have that sort of bond and communication. She's actually lying on my bed behind me now.
Quite right. We approve this message. So what are you working on at the moment in your quilting journey?
I'm busy making a maple leaf quilt,
Oh, right.
sort of autumn shades.
Very nice.
Um,
I was going to say
it's
that's very Canadian of you.
I just it's the colors and I'm not doing the very fancy design. I'm just doing the standard autumn maple leaf design. It's based on the Missouri quilts, falling leaves or
Oh, right.
falling leaves or something like that. It's in my sewing room. But I'm I'm the type of person, I'll get a design and I'll make stuff, but then I get to the point where I actually don't want to do exactly what you've done. And I'll sit here, my poor husband gets roped in, and I'll lay it out on the bed, put a sheet down, lay it on the bed, and I say, I want to do this, 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 and this. And he'll come along and he'll say, okay, that one doesn't quite look right there. Let's move that around there. So a lot of my quilts are, this is what
Collaborative.
I've done. And then I'll say to him, just come and have a look. Do you like it or don't? So yeah, there's one quilt which I haven't quite finished because I need to find some border fabric. I'd made it up and I took one look at it and I didn't like it. So I pulled it to pieces and started again. And round two is much better.
Good. I'm pleased to hear that.
Yeah, so I'm not frightened to pull it apart and start all over if I've really lapsed.
What's next for you in your quilting journey?
I start, having said I don't like doing stuff before I finish one. I had started a waterfall quilt,
Oh, right. What is a
which my daughter,
waterfall quilt?
it's you basically take your squares are 2 inch big, and you can buy the violin that has already got a grid on it, and then you lay out your design, iron it down, and then you fold it along the line, stitch it, So it gives you that flow of dark to light and things like that. So I've got a panel made and my daughter saw it. So I have got some other fabrics together. And now that she's back home, we will sit together and collaborate again and say, right, how do we finish this off? So that is one thing I'd like to do, get that finished. I enjoy doing Bargello style quilts as well. When I started doing this again, my daughter contacted me because I had a book and I was discussing designs and ideas. So I went out to one of the local shops here in Paarl, the Fabric Contessa,
I
and
know it
there I was
well.
on the phone with her, pulling fabrics out and saying, look at this one, look at this one, look at this one. And I made a Bargello quilt and I sent it overseas to her. And
Oh,
she
wonderful.
loves it in sort of grays and blues.
Is your daughter a quilter?
No, not a chance.
Wonderful. That's all right.
Doesn't, you know, when it needs to put a pair of a hem up in its jeans, it'll go and buy that iron-on hem facing.
Also
She
by
doesn't pick up a needle.
Blizzolina.
Doesn't pick up a needle.
Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you might like to say?
I don't think so. You know, I enjoy basically a simple life. My husband gives me the space to enjoy my craft. And I think it's important that people do get that support from family, friends, friends that we make through quilting that inspire us as well. And I think that's about all.
Fantastic message and very true. And I'm glad you've got that support. And obviously your daughter adores what you're doing because she keeps getting involved with the more projects that you have to make. It's wonderful. Long may it continue.
Thank you. One of the quilts that's lying in my computer room, which is all florals and pinks, she took one look at it when she walked in there and she says, when I move out into our own place, Mum, it's going with me.
Oh, that's very, very special. And I love the fact that she loves your work so much that she's kind of semi-stealing it in advance. Is that fair enough to say?
You know, there's nothing more rewarding than you gift a quilt of some sort that you've done to somebody and they use it.
And love it.
Yes. To me, it's not just something that sits there in a cupboard to look, or, you know, put on the end of the bed, never used. Use it. That's what it was meant to be for. Put it over your legs in wintertime when it's cold.
Let the puppy lie on top of it because you love the puppy.
Well, where is she?
Oh,
She's on the other side. You can't see her at the moment. I can't show you that way because she's in the shade and she's black.
Margaret, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much. And I hope to one day meet you in person.
Well, you know, my son still lives down in Bournemouth.
Well, not too far from me. If you're ever out here, touch base. It'd be lovely to catch up.
Thank you very much. And all the best for your quilts going around the world.
Very excited about it. Thank you so much for joining us for this installment of Voices in Cloth. I'm John, signing off for this time, and we'll catch up with you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Cheerio. G'day, I'm Margaret Rose. I live in Brackenfell in Cape Town. I have submitted my quilt for Voices in Cloth. It's called Handmade. It represents the rainbow with opposite ends, one end representing a lump of coal, the other a pot of gold, and you interpret it as you feel well. Thanks a lot. Bye for now.